And I lead the marketing team for MathWorks. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks ICT Academy for inviting MathWorks and inviting me to present. So I've been trying to find the theme of today's presentations when all the eminent speakers in the morning and also one before me here was speaking. They've been talking about learning, online learning, learning per se, and what is the importance of continuous learning in our life. And I'm a living example. I'm sure that all the speakers here have been also examples of continuous learning. Otherwise, we would have been out of our jobs. Second one, change is the only constant. So you need to consistently change, continuously evolve as an individual, as an academician, as a professional, and as a student. So I hope I can build on in some of those themes and then bring some perspective. And I want you to leave with like 4 actionable items, which each of you can take. If you do one of them at least, then I think my travel from Bangalore to Pune has been fruitful. Let's go ahead. So before that, how many of you have heard about MathWorks as a company? Quite a few numbers. Good. How many of you have heard about MATLAB? More. See, so that's my job. So people have heard about MATLAB, but less number of people have heard about MathWorks. So hopefully I stand here. If you invite me a couple of years down, then I may have the whole room saying, okay, I've heard about MathWorks. Then I would probably be a good marketing person. So MathWorks has been around for 35 years. We have been spread in almost all the industries you can think about. From people talk about heavy engineering industries to asset-centric industries as aerospace, automobiles, even involved with companies in the electric vehicles, autonomous driving. And I'll probably give you some more examples of that. So and we are deeply rooted in education. That's probably why I am standing here. 6,500 plus universities are already on our tools. There are 200 plus 234 to be precise institutes in India who are using our tools. Far spread. It's not just in cities. It's from the remotest parts of India. We participate much in academic activities, be it student competitions, helping with academic research, curriculum development. I'll speak a little bit more about that later. And every year, there are tens and thousands of engineers who are getting recruited for these skills. And I've been working with some of my, actually the companies, the speakers who spoke about, some of them are using these skills which developed on companies like, tools like MATLAB, and then recruit those engineers. So I think all the more reasons why you should be spending time on the presentations further on. We go further. So these are, sorry, one back. Yeah, MATLAB, as you have told almost all the room, MATLAB is our main tool. And MATLAB talks about bringing computation into majority of the activities, especially in engineering. You can see machine learning. People talked about AI, so I'm kind of splitting it down into some of the components. Machine learning, deep learning, all of them use MATLAB. Internet of Things runs on MATLAB. So there are different applications from autonomous driving to the flights you go, the automobiles which run on road, the infotainment systems that go inside the automobiles, the medical devices that run on intelligence. Majority of them, a good number of them, uses these tools. And when you come to simulation, this is where I want to spend probably 30 seconds on a user story. Ather Energy. Ather Energy is a 2-3-wheeler electric scooter company based out of Bangalore, but it's now a kind of poster child for Indian startups. It's a startup company. The idea came out of students when they were in IIT Madras. Now, Ather Energy simulated their entire machine on Simulink and other MathWorks tools. When I say MATLAB and Simulink, it's not just 2 tools, but there are several others which actually work in specific areas like computational biology, machine learning, deep learning, and also there are 85 plus tools more than MATLAB and Simulink, which are our platform tools. Now, what are the challenges of an electric scooter? If you're going to buy an electric scooter, the first thing you'll ask is when do I have to charge it next? So now, how is the charge captured? Charge is captured in a battery. Now, I can increase the electric charge by making probably the battery bigger. Now, what are the ramifications of when you make a battery bigger? The center of gravity of the machine gets disturbed, cost goes high, the size goes big. So you see all this design consideration, and think about somebody from Aether who is trying to make this battery every time bigger and then trying to simulate what is the temperature, what is the efficiency, how long I can run, and making a prototype every time. See the cost, see the time he's going to take to get to market. And that's where tools like Simulink helps, where you can simulate all these environments, build rapid prototypes, and probably you get and build a prototype when you are actually ready. But this is probably where I want my scooter to be. So cutting down huge amount of time in those scenarios. So now I'll talk a few things about this here. The gap. I don't need to explain what is a gap, the industry academia gap, which everybody talks about. I'll also reinforce some model, and probably I talked about 4 items which you can talk about. So this is one statement which captures, and it is interesting that when I did my engineering like quite some years back, it was the same gap which people talked about. And it's a challenge for us. I mean, especially now when I'm in corporate and there are academicians sitting here and I see the academy like organizations, it's a challenge for us because the customer is changing fast. Because the customer is changing, the business is changing. So as you try to catch up and bridge this gap, the gap is widening. So there is a part for all of us to play here, as Dr. Ashok told in the morning, all of us to play here to bridge this gap and at least minimize this gap. This is what we all hear. Finally, they say that, hey, students lack these practical skills. They don't have the skills to get into the industry. I need to spend a lot of time to get these students onto certain client projects. This model you would have seen, it's Bloom's taxonomy. It's a slightly modified model. So we took at the bottom of this. People try to just remember what they have learned, and that's what I did. I'm not blaming. I probably did. When I did my engineering, I probably did a project in my 5th semester or 6th semester. And then remember, you understand, you are able to comprehend, and probably you are able to explain it to others. You apply it into some work-life examples or go to a lab and apply. You analyze, find connections. Okay, if this can be done like this, actually this can be applied in electrification. You try to find some analysis, evaluate several parameters, and finally you create something, one idea which you had into fruition. Now, how do we get started on this? I have 4 things. Project-based learning, which probably you would have heard, but I'll give you a new perspective on that. Student competitions, I want to emphasize student competitions. Online learning, and making your curriculum relevant. Let's go into each of those. What is the golden formula for learning? And this is not just for students. I have this in my current company, MathWorks. Only 10% of formal learning comes from your theories, probably the PowerPoint decks which is circulate, probably the readings which you can do on the company intranet. 20% is social learning. I work with somebody senior or I work with my peers, I get social learning. And then 70% is practical learning. And this is equally applicable in your student life, in your academician life, as well as a corporate when you get back into your industry. But the education today is more theory than practice, and we all agree. And project-based learning is where it kind of bridges this. We'll talk a little bit about how can you apply project-based learning here. Project-based learning is about applying your learning, so the ones which you are actually supposed to remember and apply them into real projects so that you learn. I mean, learn while you do. It's like show and tell rather than just learn and then tell the story to others. What are the actions which you can do? How do we get started on this? Engineering exploration course. Now this is more or less a standard term where from the first year of your engineering education, of your technical education, for that matter any kind of education, you try to get projects done with the students. And there have been institutes doing this, and I'm again not talking about the big cities, the big institutes in India, the popular institutes in India, but smaller and smaller institutes are doing this. First year, they are incorporating project-based learning through engineering exploration course, or whatever name they call it, into their curriculum. And people and students are showcasing those projects. There are many institutes are doing 2 actually showcases of their projects in that particular year. So remember, you remember the concepts, and you are kind of analyzing and applying this into your daily life. And what you can do is that you should ask your tool providers or partners like MathWorks to come and visit your college during these times. We have gone there. We have gone to colleges where people have done project-based learning showcases. It's a marketing for your institutes. And it gives a confidence to the corporates that, hey, these guys are using the skills, these guys are applying the skills. And some of these kids are really bright. And yesterday I was talking to one of our team members, and she was telling that one of those colleges, the kids have taken this into, and finally at the 4th year, so they've kind of slowly built up the complexities in that problem statement. And in the 4th year, they are already building up a prototype of an electric vehicle. So you see how people have generated ideas, and people talked about entrepreneurship, and this is how you generate entrepreneurship. Now, I also want to specify that MathWorks as a company invests a lot in project-based learning. So there are lots of tools available in our website. You can just search project-based learning plus MathWorks and you will get there. Our tools are very well interfaced to all the low-cost softwares, low-cost hardwares which you can think of, so that you can incorporate this into your project-based learning at the early part of a student's career. And start early. Start early is the key for project-based learning. Encourage and host student competitions. So student competitions is a nice way of getting people motivated to use these concepts, because there's a prize at the end and student work as team. People talked a lot about collaboration, leadership skills, and even marketing. Why marketing? I get at least 2-3 mails in a month of student competition teams, students asking me, can you fund this project? We are participating in the student competition. So there's a bit of, you are trying to establish and generate a lot of these skills which are entrepreneurial in the students pretty early. And these student competitions are plenty. SAE, Society of Automobile Engineers, runs 2-3 competitions in a year, at least 2-3 competitions in a year. Last year, they started one on electric vehicle also with GM. Participate in that. MathWorks has got its own competition. We launched the mini drone competition last year of application of these skills. I talked about simulation. Application of these skills in driving a drone which follows a specific path on the ground. So you have enough, and participation is mostly free. So encourage your students to get into this and mentor them. And work with your tool providers to make sure that they also provide you the adequate support. MathWorks again does a lot of these hackathons. MathWorks participate in several hackathons. We participate as sponsors. We participate in giving them technical mentoring sessions. And there's a whole gamut of activities which we do. We have dedicated teams which work for student competitions. So what they do, they mentor students, do workshops, run videos, tutorials. It's a gamut of tutorial. Racing Launch is a dedicated page for student competitions, where people get from the first step to the last step on how to solve things using technical computing. And from last year, we have started recruiting from student competitions. So people are using these skills. They have applied these skills. Then why shouldn't we recruit? So we have a strong program called Engineering Development Group, which recruits students from campuses. Till now, they were going for only a few selected colleges, but now they have started going to the student competitions and picking people up. For example, in the last year mini drone competition, we picked one person up from mini drone competition. And likewise from the Smart India Hackathon. So make sure that you work with your tool providers, your partners, your technology partners to tell that, okay, I want to do my team is participating in student competition. How can you help? You ask that question. So that may be the second one, and you get some prize money, you get some certificates. Now, this is the Smart India Hackathon, which is probably the largest open innovation challenge in the world. Last year, if the numbers were right, there were 110,000 students participating in this, and 2 problem statements we had. So this year also we had 2 problem statements. If you don't have any other thing, please participate in this, and we already have our team working on this Smart India Hackathon. Now, self-paced learning. I don't need to talk more about self-paced learning. Allow people to learn on themselves. Don't wait for your curriculum to get ready. Don't wait for your expert on this particular subject to come. There are umpteen number of resources available. And even I learn every day with self-paced, and many of them are free. So this is a constant learning. So for example, when I did my management quite some years back, there was hardly anything called digital marketing. And if I had stayed there without learning what is digital marketing, I would not have been standing here right now. I would have been out of my job. So the learning continues. Every day the learning has to happen, and inculcate that habit in your students. Make sure that they use all these things. Where can you start? Encourage students to choose online learning platforms. There are several of them. MathWorks also has got its own learning. Quite a few of them are free. All the 4 which I've mentioned there are free. Deep learning on on-ramp, which is on artificial intelligence, it's free. Get started. 2 to 3 hours. You get a certificate at the end of it. There is like machine learning on MATLAB. That's again free. There is other startup materials like MATLAB for calculus, etc. So there are a lot of these resources which people can start. And also, our courses are available. And I think somebody else also talked about courses being available on massive platforms like EDX, Coursera, and all those things. So start your students, encourage your students to get started, and don't wait for your curriculums to get ready. Having said that, it's also important to get your curriculums relevant for the industry. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So industry landscape is changing. Why the industry landscape is changing? Because customer is changing, as one of the earlier speakers told. And it will keep on changing. And the rate of pace of change is massive now. In every 2-3 years, things are changing. Business models are going massive evolutions. So unless you keep pace with this, you will not be able to do justice to your students and to yourself. So keep your eyes and ears open. How can you keep your eyes and ears open? Listen to the environment. Come to conversations like this. Work with organizations like ICT. What's happening in this area? And ICT Academy is doing a fantastic job of bringing the corporates and the industry and the academia together to probably disseminate all these kinds of changes which are happening. So listen to them. Keep your ears and eyes open. What's a new skill happening? Is Salesforce being a new skill? Is MATLAB skills being used in industry? So listen to that. That's a good starting point. Work with industry resources to provide a relevant curriculum. We have been working with multiple companies. We have been working with automobile majors. We have been working with IT services companies to build curriculum which are relevant so that they can pick people who are ready to hit the ground running. Believe me or not, we can always put the whole onus on the industry to get people ready, but finally, they are also under pressure. They are also under pressure to deliver. They are also under pressure of the customer, finally the customer, which is you and I. We cannot wait a website to be loaded in 35 seconds. We just move out of the website. So if you have to cater to those changes, then you need high computing skills to make sure that we react at least to those skills, to those demands. Leverage industry organizations to explore more opportunities. We signed an MOU with ICT Academy. Thanks for Anbu and team for leading this. Very recently, where we have a massive objective of reaching out to most of you probably, hopefully, through faculty development programs, to student engagements, to student competitions. So reach out to us if you think that your faculties need to be educated on this. Again, how does MathWorks support? We have got several resources. A lot of them are plug and play. A lot of them. You don't need to even spend much time to incorporate this. So you can just visit MATLAB or MathWorks plus courseware, and you get access to a lot of them. So start there. And it again starts from calculus to incorporating several computational pathology. It's not just about technical, always computational pathology, computer sciences, biosciences, etc. So start with that. Teaching with MATLAB is also available. And again, a lot of these are available online, so please make sure that you use them. So in summary, for summaries again, introduce project-based learning very early. Very early means first year. Showcase them. Bring the industry in. Show that you get the right kind of audience. You also market yourself. Encourage and host student competitions. Work with us to probably host a student competition in your place. Hackathons, classic way. We worked on 2 hackathons last year. You will not believe, in places like Chandigarh and Tiruchirappalli. So people are doing it. People are making sure that these skills are getting applied. Encourage online learning. I don't need to, and even for you and me. And integrate curriculums by working with us, or get started by using some of the resources in MathWorks. That's it. My contact details are here. I'm happy to take any questions during the break. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.